The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Praise the Lord, from whom all of the blessings flow from Him. How you doing tonight, Manaal?
Well, I am blessed and highly favored.
Okay, well, I'm blessed and highly flavored if anybody wants to taste. Oh, yes, he's giving out free samples tonight. So
you Costco? Is that what it is? You Costco today?
That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm Costco. Costco. So what do you think about this year coming to an end and next year beginning?
Thank you. I appreciate it, and let's go. That's kind of my attitude about it. 2022 has just been a lot of transition. And it has been for me about finding my voice and finding my strength.
Yes.
And having to put people in their place. That's not something I usually do. So it's requiring a lot of energy from Manaal. You know, so hopefully in 2023, I'm looking forward to people just knowing where their place is, and I can just, move with the wind like I like to.
Yes, I love it. Born free, free as the wind blows. I have come to, you said putting people in their place. I've come to the realization that putting people in their place is not always a negative thing, and it doesn't have to have negative energy behind it. Sometimes people just need to know the appropriate lane that they need to be in, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I have learned to accept it when I am put in my place.
Well, look at you, Walter.
Right. I am not the end all be all.
That's big boy status.
Yeah, I am not the end all be all. Everybody does not have to be my friend, and you don't have to like my brand of what I do, right? But what I'm not gonna do is keep changing so that I can become your brand. I'm not gonna do that. So once you let me know that this is not your cup of tea, then I'll just, I accept it and I move on.
True. I like that. That's a good point, though. There's a big difference between making adjustments and changing. Those are two different things. And I think it's important for people to know the difference, especially when it comes to learning what your place is.
Right. I'm so sorry. I'm dealing with Regins, and Regins don't always. Now, I go live every night, every Monday night at the same time, but Regins like to call me. They like to call me while I'm live, so I apologize for that. Now, Manaal, so last time we spoke, we talked about dating while being a Black woman, right? And I was able to kind of chime in because I'm every woman. It's all in me. It is. I'm at least 2 or 3 of them. I can't be all of them, but I'm at least 2 or 3 women in a dude. But no, real talk. I feel like I learned so much during that conversation, and I think there was some growth there for me.
Good.
Just listening to you and your expressions and how you just taught us some beautiful things. last week. But this week we're gonna talk about dating while being a Black man. Dating a
Talk
Black
about the
man.
menses.
2022. The men's. You know how the old people put that on
The men.
dating being a Black men's. Now, you work in mental health. You really work in taking care of people. And one thing I have always admired about your work is you give space and voice for the Black man to feel, experience, and express emotions and to grow. So when I explain you to people, I always explain that you're not pacifying, because some people want a pacifier, but you definitely give us space to grow, to feel, experience, and to have a human experience. And I before we even dig in, I just feel a thank you in my Holy Ghost. Thank you, Manaal, for expressing that and allowing that to be. Now, when it comes to the dating space, we just gonna dive right in, okay? When it comes to the dating space, a lot of times Black men, I feel, are given the short end of the stick in that the majority of us have to suffer for the sins of the few. And here's my point.
Okay.
I don't be out here on no bullshit. Once I realized 100%, that I could not be faithful to a woman, I like men, and I was gonna mess with a dude, like, I can go the rest of my life and not mess with a woman. I can. I really legitimately can. But I'm not gonna go the next 30, 40 years. And can I say suck a dick on this show? I guess it's too late.
I think you can.
Right. That ain't happening. That's not happening, in my experience. Now, once I got that all figured out, I said I'm telling every woman I encounter, I'm not gonna be out here on no creep shit. And I want to be honest with everybody. This is me being upfront. Even when I was figuring things out, I was not being a creep to the woman I was with at the time. I was being integral in that moment. But once I figured that shit out, I said, you know what? I sat her down and I said, hey, this is a hard conversation, but we are going to conversate.
We both like penis.
Right. We both like the same things.
I think we should be friends.
Right. Hey, sis. Right.
We can bar crawl together.
Let's go out and you and me go get dudes. But but I sat her down, I had that conversation, and then I let it go. But a lot of times, because manning up and adulting up is very difficult. Those of us who do big boy stuff and make big boy moves, we have to suffer because there is a sector in our community that is more, they get more limelight than we do. And they do a lot of immature things. My question to you is, and we diving right in.
Hey, I'm ready. I got my scuba gear on at all times.
All right. My question to you is, as a Black woman dating Black men, which have you experienced more of? Have you experienced more fuckboy shit? Or have you experienced more grown man, I'm on my grown man shit today?
Ooh. Okay. So I want to say, first and foremost, I feel like you get what you give.
Okay.
I live by that. You get what you give. There's going to be constantly people that are trying to approach you at any time in life with any type of proposition. But at the end of the day, who actually makes it into your phone and into your bed, that has more to do with what you're giving as well. So in my experience, I've actually had more people that were willing to take a chance and take me seriously
Okay.
than not. But that's also because of how I present myself. Now, on the other hand, I have absolutely witnessed a lot of my friends and my family who have just been getting some real interesting individuals
Okay.
who are just out here to play.
Okay.
And a lot of the women that I work with, I'm dealing with their baby daddies, and I'm dealing with they boos, and I'm like, he doesn't mean you well at
Right.
all. But
Right.
then again, they are also not having expectations, and
Okay.
so I feel like you get what you give. I think there are
Okay.
a lot of men who are out here playing, but I think that there are those who are wanting to be taken seriously. They just don't know how to get what they want.
Okay. Now, what I'm experiencing, especially as a Black man, is it's difficult to get to someone who actually wants something substantial. Okay. Beyond money, beyond the aesthetic. I'm a big dude. And I say that proudly. I say it all the time. If you know, I say it frequently. I'm a big dude. So it's hard really to get into a space with someone where sometimes they think because I'm a big dude, I'm gonna have low self-esteem and I want to fuck on the first time I meet somebody, which depending on my mood, I may. I'm not even gonna sit on this screen and lie to y'all, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to. But there's always that 10th time where I'm like, you know what, it's been a long week. Let's do this real quick. But too much TMI?
No, you're fine. I was thinking about what kind of lube you could possibly be using because, that's where my mind went. Make sure you have the lube. That's where I went.
Yes. One must be safe. Hallelujah. But building something substantial with someone who with someone who is going to take it serious. A lot of people think just because you're honest that you're doing big boy things.
Right.
And honesty without accountability, honesty without I'm just going to leave it there. Honesty without accountability is bullshit, I think. Because I can tell you, well, I'm just out here on 40 streets and think that you're supposed to accept it. But I still need you to, I can tell you, okay, I'm out here for these streets, but I'm really looking to build something with you. Are you maybe interested in doing something polyamorous? How about we just wade right here? Are you cool if we wade right here? And I'm not going to play with you. If I don't see this going anywhere, I'm going to end it. And I'm not going to lead you on for a year or so. This is going to be a quick shindig. To me, that's big boy stuff versus, well, I done already told her I'm out here for these streets and we've been together 5 years and we've been fucking 5 years and she got 3 of my kids. But I told her there's a difference between being honest, and being a grown man about what you're out here doing. And I think sometimes that line is not that line or that characteristic is not always made clear when it comes to specifically the Black man. And then I don't feel like those of us who want something serious are given a fair shot.
So I feel like, for me, when I think grown man, I think a grown man doesn't take more than he's willing to give.
Okay.
That's what I define as grown man. You don't take more than you're willing to give.
I like it.
And it doesn't matter what space you in. If you're just out here and you legitimately are not looking for anything serious because you're not ready to commit and you just want to have your one night stands or you just want to have your frequents that you rotate, whatever the case may be, you don't take more than you give, right? So don't be allowing her to buy you things if you know good and well you're not investing in her. Don't be driving her car if you know good and well you're not investing in her, right? Or him, right? So don't take more than you're willing to give. And I think that when it comes to, so we got we got heterosexual and then we got LGBTQ plus, like those things are different ball games, I think. Literally. And then when it comes to people that are legitimately looking for serious committed relationships, how do you find those men? And I think we as women, or those of us who, those who are in gay relationships, it's more about where you go and what you do. Again, it's
Okay.
how you present yourself. If I'm only looking for love in the club, because Usher said that's where I can find it, then you're going to find a certain type of person. If you are only looking for love at church, you only going to find a certain kind of person,
These are the two facts.
And so if you change your people, places, and things, and you change your own network, you're more likely to find the type of person that you're actually wanting, because you're getting outside of those stereotypical places to find people who are not really trying to do too much. Now, don't get me wrong. I club every now and then, but I club every now and then because I've grown up.
Right.
So if someone was looking for a serious committed relationship, they wouldn't have found Manaal in the club.
Right. Okay.
They find Manaal at the community service event. They find Manaal going hiking. They find Manaal in a whole other type of space, right?
I like this.
And so if people are saying, I can't find a good man in 2022, I'm asking you, where are you? What are you doing? And who are you with? And then how are you dressing when you show up? And how are you conducting yourself when you show up? And what kind of expectations, hey Gail, what kind of expectations are you laying out for that individual when you do meet them?
Right. I just called Gail a whole boo, and I realized that, that is not Gail. Gail probably can call me boo. Hi, Gail. No. She know what that means. I love me some Gail. Absolutely. I think when it comes to dating, and I love where we're headed here. If you can give me that first point, Kwame, I feel like I definitely feel like you have to hold yourself accountable. If this is what you're saying you want, right, then you have to be willing. Like you said, I can't ask you to give something I'm not willing to give, right? So I'd have to hold myself accountable. If I'm saying I want an upstanding woman, then I have to be an upstanding man, correct?
Absolutely.
Now, I feel like we kind of dibbled and dabbled in this up to this point, but it's kind of like this whole ideology that, and I'm just going to say it like this: there's piss in the dating pool. I've heard people say that. I've heard people say black men ain't shit, and that really pisses me off to hear. I've heard people say things like, all black men do is lie, cheat, and have babies and don't take care of them. And I've actually heard that from a loved one that I really esteemed high, but they're allowing public rhetoric to infiltrate their mind. But this is just not 100% the case. I'm glad she's on here. Gail always challenges us to do what? Create space, right? Create space. And a lot of times we as black men go unrepresented because we fail to create the space where we can actually showcase positive things. We need people like Kwame, who's going to establish a Pyro media so that we can now display educated black men, educated straight black men, educated LGBTQ, plus black men. So that there is because you got the Zeus Network, and they're definitely your playbook for, I don't want to come off like I'm shading them because they are black owned, but they're definitely a playbook for a different prototype. We'll say that. But then we need something contrary as well to show that that's not what all black men are up to. That's not what all black gay men are up to. This is not what all black gay men are about. There are people of substance that are out here that are available that do want to build. And I think a part of addressing this is we need to challenge men who aren't with the bullshit to display, to show, to be as loud as those who are with the bullshit. What are your thoughts on that, Manaal?
I definitely like that idea. You know, who gets the airplay, right? And the reality is, it's a lot of the drama, it's a lot of the chaos, it's a lot of the dark realities of Black experience that gets the airplay. And so I agree with you that we definitely need to start showing a different prototype, as you said. We need to start showing a different idea, and a different truth and reality that does exist. But do I feel like Black men play games? I do. But I do.
Okay.
But I also have an understanding as to why those things happen. As a Black woman, I've seen my cousins and my friends and my neighbors, and I've seen, you know, our experiences in church, and I have an understanding of how the Black man has come to being so underdeveloped where playing games is what they can resort to.
Okay.
And so for me, it's more of that. So as a person who is into mental health and behavioral health, I look at how can we change that reality, right? And so I just give you an example. I have a family that I'm supporting, and the mom is in a position where she is having to work to get custody back, whereas the courts just gave dad, you know, free reign. Like, he had no stipulations whatsoever. And he's the one who's fucking up.
Oh, wow.
So I had to check that. And his mother, who keeps showing up to court for him, I had to check her. Because here we go, Black man, right? Black man has multiple children.
Facts.
And is responsible for multiple human beings now that are being brought up in this world. And his mother keeps showing up for him. And I had to let her know. I said, your son, thank you for showing up, but your son needs to be held accountable for his children.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Absolutely.
so now what does that make me do as a mother, as a Black mother who's raising a Black son? I think about how I hold myself accountable to teach my son to how to hold himself accountable, because I don't want him to be a Black man out here playing games. Right? And so I think about the things that I do now, that he's only 11 and I don't play that, right?
Right.
And so I think about when there were times, let's say he would maybe not do his homework, right? And he got a mark on his work that week, and it was a challenge mark, right? Because it's not negative, it's a challenge. You got to grow up. And so if I saw that, I would make him call his village. Call your aunties, call your grandparents, call everybody and tell them the choice that you made and the result of that choice. And I would make him get on the phone and call everybody. Because if you can ask them for money and you can ask them for snacks and you can ask them for things, then you can tell on yourself, right? And so even now, I make him accountable to his village, right?
Okay.
And so when I think about, again, Black men playing games, it's because that accountability hasn't been built up within them.
Right.
And they don't have a village that's holding them accountable to their choices. And it starts with their parenting, right? And then it trickles into who their friends are.
So
trickles into their coworkers and how they show up at work and the conversations and what's allowed in that space, right? And then it's the people that they date and their lack of expectations for them to show up.
Right. So I love everything you're saying. I do. And you know, you and I have been doing this for a while. So you know, I'm an advocate of Black women raising Black men. I know everybody, a woman can't teach a man how to be a man. Yeah, whatever. Okay. My philosophy is you can, because my mama raised the fuck out of me. And my mama raised the fuck out of my brothers after my father passed. Okay. So we did have a father up to a point. But after he died, you know, she didn't have no whole bunch of men in and out of our house. My mama raised us and held us accountable, just like you're saying. Now, she didn't have the verbiage that you have, but, you know, hearing what you're saying, no, you're going to call, you're going to hold yourself accountable, you are going to apologize, you know. These different things put something in us, you know, to give us that character to be upstanding men that will be there for our kids. You know, we will not cheat. We will not play these games. Can I get the second point? I actually love that. So the way to address that is, sometimes, it starts with the next generation, the next step. But then also, if you are a man watching this and you want to start holding yourself accountable, you want to start making strides to be better, you got to get around men that's going to hold you accountable for the right shit. Right?
Yep.
If all your friends will make you catch a fade if somebody disrespects you, but won't make you visit your kid, you got the wrong kid. You got the wrong friends.
Absolutely.
Okay? If all your friends will cover for you while you cheat, but won't call you to make sure you up in time to go to court or make it to your son's basketball game, you got the wrong.
Or who will just allow you to be sitting there cheating.
Right. Period. So really, a lot of times that's where I've gotten into rough spaces with some guys, because don't use me as no excuse to be no asshole, to go cheat or nothing like that. Don't involve me in that, because I'm a strong believer in you reap what you sow. And if I sit up here and be a party to that, eventually that karma is going to come back to me. But anyway, we have to create a safe space for Black men to explore life. I'm gonna add to that.
I love this.
Not just life, we have to allow them to explore sexuality. So we can't be so bent on.
That's a part of life, right?
That is a part of life, and to me, it might be the best part. Whoa,
that's a big part of life.
You're the best part. It's me singing to my sex. Creating a safe space for Black men to explore life. This is big to me, because this kind of ties back, and we're going to talk about toxic masculinity in a minute.
I was sure. Oh, you feel me. You
felt me.
But
this ties back to, we're not allowed to show emotion. We're not allowed to think creatively. A lot of people say think outside of the box, but we're not allowed to think creatively. No, you're going to go get a 9 to 5. You're going to do this. This is what you do. And there is a space and, time for that. But a lot of times when it comes to Black men, when we're dating, when we're with our person, we have to be out here fighting in real life. I just left a 9 to 5 and I have to fight in real life. I don't want to come home or be with my person, my boo, my thing that I'm building, my forever person, and I got to fight you too, or I got to remain guarded, or if I laugh too much at something that's weird, or hell, if I want to paint my nails, now all of a sudden I got to go through a hole, I got to come out to you all over again. Or, if I decide I want to wear something, or if I decide whatever. I think we have to work at creating a safe space for a person to express themselves and explore themselves and get to know themselves. When I say that, Manaal, you all the time you talk about getting to know self, becoming self-aware. And a few weeks ago, you talked to us about being self-conscious. How does that fit into this, creating a safe space for Black men to explore?
Man, and I'm going to really try not to talk a whole lot about my son, but that's just my mind always is in that realm of childhood, because that's where these things begin, right? I'm meeting this gentleman at 36 years old, but he had a whole 36 years before meeting me where he was not allowed to be himself, right? And it starts in childhood. And I think about how sure my son is about himself, even at 11. You can't tell him nothing about himself, because I've given him the space to figure out what his thoughts are, what his views are, and who he is and how he wants to show up. And I've created that space for him since he was born, right? And so when I think about creating a safe space for men to explore once they become adults, I think as adults, we have to learn how to allow people to just be. But we have to first embody that, right? I cannot, scripture, right? Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So universal principle. I cannot allow you to be free if I'm not free.
Okay, right? Hold that thought right where you are, because we do have to take a commercial break.
I'm holding.
We do have to take a commercial break. While we're on commercial break, I want you all to click that like button, but I also want y'all to take some notes because there's some shows that's going to come up on this screen that y'all need to catch. Take us away, Kwame. You know
love
what?
that music every time.
Right, I'm telling you, every time it gets me. But during that commercial, I was looking and I was like, it's some sexy people on that Bulletin Flight commercial. That was the Bullet. Is the Bullet Flight Radio? It's some sexy people. I'll be like,
people.
Because that damn Bishop Oliver in Atlanta, he could. You think God will be mad if I say the bishop can get it? But he can get it in Jesus' name.
I think you
definitely
should
would give it up.
Start saying, I like you, I lick you.
I like you and I would lick you.
I think you should that should be your intro. I like you. Yeah. Yeah, just try it.
Feel like,
and you give them like the smoky bedroom eye when you say it.
So I had to apologize to my niece. My niece is now a grown woman. And when she was a child, I had to spank her because she was licking somebody, right? And I had to spank her. I was like, we don't lick people. We don't lick people. Now as a grown up, I'll be like, oh, I told the hell out that lie. Hey, Janelle. All right, but back to what we were talking about.
You know, she was experiencing someone.
With her.
That's what was happening.
Right. So
before we went to break, with all five senses.
Before we went to break, you were talking about creating a space for Black men to feel free, right? And you were saying that I can't provoke you to be free, or I can't lead you to be free if I am not free. Did I say that correct? Now,
so it's more like, I mean, you were in there. You were in the boat on the lake. You were.
Okay,
you were.
All right. I like boats and lakes.
But it's more like, how do we start to create these safer spaces for Black men? And we have to start with self always. But
Right.
how do we acknowledge if our space is safe or not? And it's if the people around me are not even comfortable being their true selves, then I
Right.
probably am in the wrong company, right?
Right.
For self-exploration. And as an
Mm-hmm.
adult, and whether I am male or female, but I know we're talking about Black men, you
Right.
need
Right.
to position yourself to be around Black men who are looking to expand and who are looking to expand their experiences in life, but who are
Mm-hmm.
also looking to really get to the root of who they are and live in that truth, right?
Okay. Right.
Because if the people around you are not free and the people around you are not comfortable being themselves, if the people around you have this
Mm.
boxed idea of how they are supposed to exist, you won't have any reflections to really bounce off of as you are trying to grow and develop, and that space will not be safe. Let's say you are a heterosexual male and you have this thought that, man, I would like to get some purple on my hands. I like to get
Right.
my nails painted
Right.
just because. And you're a straight male, but that's a thought that runs through your mind. You need to be able to have friends where you can do that, and you show up and they be like, you want a purple? All right, dog, cool. Let's go play
Right.
basketball. Like you still
Right.
need to be able
Right.
to exist in that. And so it probably will again include you changing your people, places, and things. So that way
Right.
you have that freedom to explore every
Mm-hmm.
thought that comes to your mind. You talk about being creative. We get thoughts all the time. We get
Right.
these inclinations about trying new things or exploring something different. And so you need to be in a space where whenever something pops in your mind, you can just do it, and people will talk with you about it and not put you back in the box, because that's not what
Right.
you're supposed to do as a Black man.
Right. I love what you're saying because um, I feel like the consciousness as a whole is expanding on those very things. Okay. But a lot of times, and can I get the third point? When it comes to men, particularly exploring life, men, particularly exploring different things, a lot of times when they get too liberal or too free, there is a label put on them. You're not man enough. So believe it or not, I do have a few heterosexual friends. I want to say that again, heterosexual friends that are male that paint their nails. Okay. I for one, I don't paint my nails, but I don't think that's a trait of being masculine or feminine, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that go get pedicures and manicures. Every now and then I do go get a pedicure. I'm not even gonna lie, I'll be out in that chair with my feet up. But
Please and thank you. Do that.
I I remember where there was a whole argument, almost broke out into a fist fight because they were saying men that paint their nails, oh they're gay, oh they're this, oh they're that, instead of just letting people live, like you said a moment ago, live your truth. What you eat will never make me shit. What you drink will never make me pissed, right? And instead of me just celebrating the fact that you have found something that pleases you, that gives you a level of satisfaction, I can celebrate that and realize that has nothing to do with me. But a lot of times, toxic masculinity does not allow us, it doesn't afford us a chance to allow that person just to be who they are. So, you know me.
Absolutely.
You know me. When we have conversations of this magnitude, I do like definitions. Can I get that definition, Kwame?
Let's define terms.
Okay. So, Manaal, can you see that?
Yes.
All right. Can you read that, Manaal? Sitting up here with glasses on and still can't see. I'm getting old.
I got you. I got you.
Okay.
Let me put on my radio voice. Okay. Toxic masculinity refers to certain harmful cultural and societal norms that are associated with masculinity, such as maintaining an appearance of being tough or dominant, encouraging violent attitudes and behavior, and suppressing emotions or distress. The term does not indicate that masculinity in itself is toxic, but the normalization of harmful norms associated with masculinity is.
I love it. I love it. Now, the portion I love about this definition is towards the end where it says, the term does not indicate that masculinity in itself is toxic, right? Masculinity in itself is not toxic, but to normalize brute and barbaric actions and notions and mindsets, and then associate that with being masculine, that is toxic. Toxic AF. Toxic as fuck. At least
I thought you were gonna say as faith. That's what I thought you were gonna say.
Girl.
Oh, just kidding.
It's about time for us to have a whole nother one about that. Yes, we need to have a whole nother powwow about it. But I like this. This is a definition I came across on the internet. I liked it because I felt like it embodied a lot of what I thought toxic masculinity is. When I did a poll on my page and I asked the men that associate with me what they felt toxic masculinity is, a lot of the responses I got was, they just want us to all be gay. They want all the men to be gay. Everybody, gay. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Okay. Then it was, anything manly they think is toxic. If I want to go hunting, it's toxic masculinity. Not quite. Okay. It was really hard for them to grasp toxic masculinity because the toxicity from the masculinity that they were practicing had already corrupted the thought process. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, they're corroded to the core. I got you.
Right. Now, I'm not saying it's beyond help or it's irrefutable, but I feel like a lot of times we go with a narrative. We find a narrative, we go with a narrative, and then we won't even allow ourselves to budge when budging makes sense, when movement makes sense. We're not saying it's anything wrong with being masculine. Okay? You want to be manly? Go ahead and be manly. You know, if you want to be, this is just an example that I can come up with because it's been said to me before. I wash my ass thoroughly. I wash in between my cheeks. I wash in between my cheeks. I try to keep myself up because I don't like to stink. Okay? I remember being around certain people who would think that was, I hate to use the term, but we're having the conversation. They would think that was gay because I made sure that I didn't stink in that manner, right? Man, what you spreading your cheeks for? Because I don't want it to stink in there, right? Correct? Yeah, that's like something we need to do, right? But toxic masculinity says we don't do that. We would rather walk around and smell like the hair on a bull's ass than wash our ass because men are not concerned with smelling good when the cologne wears off. What are your thoughts on this whole thing that the whole thought process on toxic masculinity?
I think what's really important to acknowledge is what masculinity really is.
I like it.
And it has very little to do with what you do more than it has to do with the energy that you're moving in, which is why even if you identify as female, you can still exist in masculine energy.
Yes.
And if you exist as male, you can still exist in feminine energy,
Right.
because it's about what that spiritual energy is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not doing. And so when we're talking about masculinity or masculine energy is is focused in on taking action on what has already been processed in the feminine, right?
Yeah.
Because femininity is all about creativity. It is about
Yeah.
intuition. It is about being deeply rooted um, in the world inside you and around you, right? Whereas
Mm-hmm.
now when you move into the masculine energy, all of the, I'll say, spiritual data that you have been collecting, you're now ready to act on those things, right? And
Okay.
so if we leave everything in the spirit, which is where it should be, we can now see how, if you identify as male or female, you can move within these masculine and feminine energies with
Mm-hmm.
ease and clarity. And you can actually stand in the power of both of them, right?
I
And
love it.
so
I love
when we talk about masculine energy, a lot of people look at it like, again, like how you dress or the activities that you do or the types of jobs that you have, the
it.
language
Mm-hmm.
that you
Mm-hmm.
use, right? We've even
Yeah.
broken it down into the role that you play in your household or in society or
Right.
in your friend group,
Right.
right? Um, and
Right.
again, let's raise intelligence. These things were given to you. Society
Right. Societal norms. Right.
created people's ideas, what they
Mm-hmm.
were comfortable with, how it's been given to you and has been passed down. So if we're raising people's ideology or their intellect or their perspective about a thing, we have to understand where it's all coming from. Because if you actually reached into the core of who you are, again, getting to know you, then
Yes.
you would know that most of these constructs you don't even agree with. You just deal with it for the
I
sake of comfort. And it's comfort with your friends, it's comfort with your family, and it's comfort with the people that you want to attract who have learned the same toxicity that you have. And so I think about it. One of the things that I think comes up a lot, we talk about men having emotions, and that
mm-hmm.
not being a masculine thing to do is experience and display so many different variations of emotions. When in actuality, as human beings, there's this whole big world of emotions. And so, as a human being, you have the right to have different emotions and display different emotions. And so, we have to allow men to be humans.
Right.
One of the other
Right.
things is this hero thing. Like, as men, you do not have to save the day all the time. I, as a female, definitely appreciate the opportunities when, as a man, you take the lead. But I also appreciate when, as a man, you allow me to lead when it is time, right? So
Right.
again, moving um, in the
But can I
truth
let
and
me
the essence of what a moment calls for, because as a man, mm-hmm,
I want to jump in there real quick. Now, she's not saying she appreciates you allowing her to take the lead in the kitchen or take the lead in the laundry room. And I'm using those
no,
that
yeah,
can be where you don't mind taking the lead, but
stereotypical
I'm just
things.
using those. That's a slapstick example of a lot of times that's what people will say. That's where the woman need to take the lead at, right? Um, but before you get back
Absolutely,
to what you're
which is a
saying,
limited thought. Mm-hmm.
I like what Kwame is saying here too. He says he agrees, but I also want to say that we need to make it safe for those who are innately masculine as well. Okay. Oftentimes, when those who have been hurt by toxic masculinity, positive people who have positive masculine traits pay for the negative or the toxic masculinity people too. There are people who are innately masculine and it's not toxic. Yeah. And I want to reverence them.
Well, but that's the thing.
I want you to call me.
Even in
951.
relationship, if you have a healthy, if you are innately masculine, you still know how to bend to the feminine.
Okay.
And so that in a healthy relationship dynamic can be respected, right? So definitely understanding
Uh-huh.
that we don't want to call all masculinity toxic. That's not it, because healthy
Right.
masculinity still knows how to bend to the feminine. It still knows
Right.
how to it still knows how to and I'll say it this way. Um
They
a
compliment.
a person who is innately masculine will still ask you if you want if you want the door open for them. They're not just
Okay.
going to assume and take over, because masculine energy is not about taking over. It's about taking action when action is
Mm,
necessary.
okay.
So I'm going to
Absolutely.
ask, if I'm moving in the masculine, I'm going to ask, do you need me to open this door for you, or you got it? And if I say yes, open the door, that person is going to be there to open that door. And if you say no, that person is going to say, well, what role do you want me to play? And I got you.
Put a pin right there, because I feel like we definitely gonna have to have a part 2 on this one. We definitely are gonna have to have a part 2 on this one. Can I get that next the next picture, Kwame? So we can't stand here a lot of times, but some positive traits of masculine. We definitely got to have a part 2. Oh my God, girl, you just opened a whole nother. See, this is why I love talking with Manaal. Okay. Strong, confident, strong, charming, funny, family man, just, honorable. These are examples of what may be associated with positive masculinity. Okay, you don't have to
Walter,
be.
why ain't no melanin on here? I don't
Well,
see no melanin.
the Rock is melanin. This ain't my picture, because you already
Light.
know anything good
He
has to
light.
have Winston Duke on it. I'm sorry, that is Bay, and it just has everything good is gonna have a Winston Duke in it. But the toxic trait is abusive, racist, sexist, rape jokes, grab them by the yeah.
Grab by the pussy.
Grab them by the cuckoo. Um I think this is a pictorial example of a lot of times what we're gonna need to start doing. We have to start actually pointing out the toxic traits, but we need to counter that with also celebrating and uplifting the positive traits. Masculinity is a thing, and I like what you're saying. Masculine energy and feminine energy will complement each other. They will definitely complement each other. But I think a lot of times we focus so much on the negative, the toxic. We don't celebrate the positive masculine energy. I just want to encourage anybody who may be watching this, if there's someone in your life who is positively is a positive masculine role model, and on this show we don't always go with just because someone is masculine doesn't mean they're a man. If you have a masculine energy in your life, someone who presents masculine in your life, celebrate them if they're being positive and they are not perpetuating the toxic masculinity. Question of the night. Let's get that question up here real quick. Question of the night. And then we're going to answer this question, and we got to get off. We got 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Is bisexuality a thing, or are these people fearful and confused? Now, I'm going to say bisexuality is a thing. I do not think they are confused. I do think that some bisexual people, some people use bisexuality as a cloak, because to just come out and say that I'm gay it's scary. Or if you are realizing that you're heterosexual, it may be fearful if you've been known as one who is, I've never seen this happen, but you may be realizing that you're no longer homosexual and you are heterosexual now, and you're because you have been known as homosexual for years. It's a safety cloak so that you can go between the two without completely offending the other. What are your thoughts?
To your point, I also think it's that sometimes individuals are not ready to actually deal with themselves. And so even if I decide that I'm heterosexual, I'm not ready to deal with the rejection. I'm not ready to deal with the actual growth that it takes to maintain that type of relationship. So I'll move in between. So I still don't really have to commit to myself first. But I think that bisexuality is real. And I believe it's real because, again, it's not about male parts, it's not about female parts, it's about the energies that we
I agree.
move in and connect with. And it is very possible for you to connect with both male and female, people that identify as male or female, people that identify as being neither, right? But it is very possible to connect and relate to and share positive exchanges with any type of gender if you're open.
You have to open up your heart. Ooh, that was ugly.
But you went for it though. You ain't rehearsed that.
I shot for the sun, and I don't even think I was still in the Earth atmosphere with that one. That was. So, next week we will be back with another show. We have to do a part 2, and I would like to get Kwame's input because that was a fire ass comment that he put there, and I would like to see you two go back and forth and talk. And I would like to instigate and possibly start some mess on that show. Yes. So yeah, Walter for the shit starter on that show. But we're definitely gonna have to do a part 2, Manaal, about this dating. But we may have to branch more off into the toxic masculinity topic just so that we can have this conversation.
We need to talk about it.
Yeah, it needs to be talked about. And I also want to talk about is everybody gay? Does everybody like the sex of the men and the women? That and more next week. I'm just playing.
I like it.
As always, we do thank you all for tuning in to the WaltBConnection. We celebrate you. We love you. We cannot do what we do without you. Stay tuned because there is a phenomenal show getting ready to come on, the Dante Morris Show. Dr. Morris is going to entertain the life, health, and strength out of you, but you will be all the more educated and better for it. Listen, we love you over here, and we will see you next week. Take us away, Kwame.